She lost her job for helping Keanu Reeves the next day. Everything changed. Before we continue this story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we have another special story for you. A cold wind swept through the bustling city streets as Emma tightened her jacket around herself. She was standing behind the counter of the high-end restaurant where she worked her shift. Almost over the place was filled with wealthy customers laughing and clinking glasses, completely unaware of the struggle that people like her faced every day just to survive. Emma had always been the kind of person who couldn't walk past someone in need without trying to help, but tonight, that kindness was about to cost her everything. The restaurant doors swung open and a man walked in wearing a black hoodie, jeans, and a cap pulled low over his face. He wasn't flashy, didn't demand attention, but something about him felt familiar. Emma's eyes widened as she recognized him. It was Keanu Reeves. He quietly took a seat at a corner table, trying not to draw attention. She watched as a waitress hesitated before approaching him. She leaned down, whispered something, then quickly walked away, looking uncomfortable. Moments later, the restaurant manager, Mr. Daniels, stormed out of his office with a fake smile stretched across his face. I'm sorry, sir, but we have a strict reservation-only policy, he said, his voice dripping with insincerity. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave. Keanu simply nodded, reaching into his pocket. I understand. I'll just pay for something to go. Before he could pull out his wallet, Mr. Daniels scoffed. I don't think you understand. This isn't the kind of place where you can just walk in and... Emma had heard enough. He's not causing any trouble, she said firmly. If he wants to order, let him. Mr. Daniels shot her a sharp glare. Emma, stay out of this. But she didn't. Instead, she grabbed a menu and placed it in front of Keanu. What would you like? She asked, ignoring the tension in the air. Keanu gave her a small, appreciative smile. Just a simple meal would be great. The restaurant had fallen silent. Customers were watching. Mr. Daniels' face turned red with anger. That's it. You're done, he hissed. You're fired. Emma's heart dropped. What? You heard me. Get out. For a moment, she just stood there, frozen. She had just lost her job for doing the right thing. She glanced at Keanu, who met her gaze with an unreadable expression. Then, without another word, she took off her apron, threw it onto the counter, and walked out. The cold night air hit her as she stepped onto the street, feeling the weight of everything crashing down at once. She had no idea that by tomorrow her entire life would change in ways she never expected. She walked through the empty streets, her mind racing. How had this happened? She had worked at that restaurant for 2 years, giving it everything she had, only to be tossed aside like she was nothing. And for what? For standing up for someone. By the time she reached her tiny apartment, a cramped space barely big enough to call home, she felt completely drained. Her rent was due in a week. She had no savings, no backup plan. Lying on her bed, she stared at the ceiling, fighting back tears. Her phone buzzed. A message from her best friend, Mia. Mia, heard what happened. Are you okay? Emma sighed and typed back. Emma, lost my job for trying to help someone. Feels like I did the right thing, but it still sucks. Mia replied almost instantly. Mia, wait, you don't mean Keanu Reeves? Emma hesitated. Emma, yeah. Why? There was a long pause. Then Mia sent a screenshot of a social media post. Emma's eyes widened. It was a photo from the restaurant taken by one of the customers. The caption read, Waitress fired for helping Keanu Reeves after a rude manager humiliates him. Disgusting. The comments were exploding. Who fires someone for being kind? This restaurant is done. Boycott them. Someone find this waitress. She deserves better. Emma's heart pounded. People were actually standing up for her. Before she could even process it, her phone rang. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello? A calm, familiar voice spoke on the other end. Emma nearly dropped her phone. She sat up so fast that she almost fell off her bed, her heart pounding. Was this real? Was Keanu Reeves actually calling her? Hello, she stammered. A short chuckle came from the other end, warm and reassuring. I just wanted to check on you, Keanu said. What happened back there wasn't fair. Emma swallowed hard. I appreciate that, but I'll be fine. I just didn't think standing up for someone would cost me my job. There was a brief silence. Then Keanu said something that sent chills down her spine. It won't cost you anything, Emma. In fact, it might be the best thing that ever happened to you. Before she could respond, another notification popped up on her phone. It was a message from an unknown number, another screenshot. This time, it was from a major news outlet. The headline read, "Waitress fired for defending Keanu Reeves. Hollywood star speaks out." Emma's jaw dropped. "Wait, what did you do?" Keanu's voice remained calm. "I just told the truth, that you stood up for what was right." Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the article. Keanu had made a public statement about what happened. "It's not about me," the article quoted him saying. "It's about how we treat people. This woman showed kindness, and she was punished for it. That's not the world I want to live in." Emma's breath caught in her throat. The restaurant's social media was in complete chaos. Thousands of people were leaving negative reviews calling for justice. Some were even demanding the manager be fired. Everything was happening so fast, too fast. "This is insane," she whispered. "What happens now?" Keanu's voice was steady. "That depends on you. I have an idea, but I need to ask, do you trust me?" Emma didn't even hesitate. "Yes." There was a short pause. Then Keanu said, "Good. Pack your bags. Your life is about to change." Emma's mind went blank for a second. "Wait, what? Pack my bags?" Keanu chuckled softly. "You'll see. Just trust me." Her heart pounded in her chest. This had to be a dream. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Just last night, she had lost her job, and now one of the biggest stars in the world was telling her to pack her bags. She wanted to ask 100 questions, but before she could, Keanu spoke again. "I'll send a car in the morning. Get some rest, Emma." And just like that, he hung up. Emma stared at her phone in disbelief. What just happened? She barely slept that night. Her mind raced with possibilities. Was this real? What did Keanu have planned? Was this some kind of joke? Morning came faster than she expected. She had thrown a few things into a small suitcase, still unsure if this was actually happening. Then, right at 9 a.m., a sleek black car pulled up outside her tiny apartment. Her hands trembled as she stepped outside. The driver, a well-dressed man in sunglasses, stepped out and opened the door for her. "Miss Emma?" he asked politely. She nodded slowly. "Please, have a seat." She slid into the back seat, her nerves on edge. The car pulled away, and as the city streets blurred past her, she realized something. This wasn't just some random meeting. Keanu had a plan. After about 30 minutes, the car stopped in front of a massive modern building, the kind of place only the rich and powerful walked into. Emma stepped out, feeling completely out of place. Before she could even begin to question what was happening, the doors swung open, and standing there, waiting for her, was Keanu Reeves. He smiled. "Ready to change your life?" Emma took a shaky breath. I think so." Keanu nodded. "Good, because we have work to do." She followed him through the grand glass doors, her heart hammering in her chest. The lobby was stunning. High ceilings, marble floors, and walls lined with artwork. This wasn't just any building. It meant something. She swallowed hard. "Keanu, what is this place?" He glanced at her with a knowing smile. "You'll see soon enough." They stepped into an elevator, and Keanu pressed the button for the top floor. As the doors slid shut, silence filled the space. Emma was too nervous to speak. What could he possibly want with her? With a soft ding, the elevator doors opened. Emma stepped into a breathtaking office space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A group of well-dressed people turned to look at her, their expressions curious. Keanu gestured toward them. "Emma, meet the team." She blinked. "Team? What team?" He chuckled. "Mine." Emma stared at him, completely lost. "I don't understand." Keanu leaned against a desk, his expression turning serious. "After what happened last night, I started thinking. You didn't just lose a job, Emma. You lost a job for doing the right thing. That's not something that should be punished. It's something that should be rewarded." Her breath caught in her throat. "Keanu, I appreciate this, but—" He raised a hand, stopping her. "Hear me out. I have projects, charities, organizations, businesses, and I need people I can trust, people with integrity." He looked her straight in the eye. Emma felt like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. "You're offering me a job?" she asked, barely able to process what was happening. Keanu smiled. "Not just a job. A purpose yesterday. She was a waitress struggling to make ends meet. Today, she was standing in a sleek office with Keanu Reeves, being offered a chance to change her life. She took a shaky breath. What would I be doing? Keanu grinned. Let's just say, helping people. The way you helped me. Her mind spun. Was this real? Could she actually do this? Then, as if sensing her hesitation, Keanu added something that made everything clear. You stood up for a stranger when you had nothing to gain, he said. Imagine what you could do with the power to actually change lives. Emma's doubt melted away. She met his gaze and nodded. I'm in. Keanu's smile widened. Then let's get started. The room filled with quiet murmurs as he led her to a long glass conference table. People were already seated, their eyes filled with curiosity as they watched her. Emma could feel the weight of their stares. Just yesterday, she was a nobody, fired from her job, struggling to survive. And now, she was sitting in a high-rise office across from some of the most influential people she had ever seen. Keanu took his seat at the head of the table. All right, let's get straight to it. A woman with short blonde hair and sharp eyes leaned forward. Is this her? Keanu nodded. Emma, the one who stood up when no one else did. The woman studied her for a moment, then smiled. Impressive. Emma shifted uncomfortably. I still don't really understand what I'm doing here. Keanu steepled his fingers. Let me make it clear. You lost your job for doing the right thing. That shouldn't happen to anyone. His voice hardened slightly. And, unfortunately, it happens all the time. Emma listened closely as he continued. This isn't just about you. There are countless people out there, workers, single parents, struggling students who face injustice every day. They get fired, mistreated, silenced just because they don't have power. His eyes locked onto hers. What if we could change that? Emma's stomach flipped. How? Keanu gestured around the table. Everyone in this room is part of something bigger. We have resources, connections, and the ability to make things right. He leaned in. I want you to be a part of that. Emma blinked. Me? Keanu nodded. You know what it's like to be on the other side, to be powerless. That makes you the perfect person to help others like you. She glanced around the table. Some people were nodding in agreement, while others simply studied her, waiting to see what she would say. Her heart pounded. This was too much, too fast. Could she really go from being a waitress to whatever this was? Then Keanu spoke again, and this time his words shattered any lingering doubt. Emma, you stepped up when you had nothing, he said. Imagine what you could do when you actually have the power to make a difference. The room fell silent. Emma swallowed hard, then slowly nodded. I want to help. Keanu smiled. Then welcome to the team. The meeting continued, and Emma listened as they laid out plans, helping wrongfully fired workers, exposing corrupt businesses, funding legal aid for those who couldn't afford it. It was bigger than anything she had ever imagined, but just as she was starting to believe in this new life, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, an unknown number. Frowning, she hesitated, then answered. Hello? A cold, angry voice came through the line. I don't know who you think you are, but you just made a very powerful enemy. Emma froze. Her grip tightened around the phone. Who is this? She asked, keeping her voice steady. The voice chuckled darkly. Let's just say you should have stayed in your place. The line went dead. Emma slowly lowered the phone, her heart racing. She looked up at Keanu, her face pale. Something's wrong, she whispered. Keanu's expression darkened. What happened? Emma took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. Someone doesn't want me helping you. The air in the room shifted. The stakes had just changed, and Emma realized this wasn't just about her anymore. This was a fight. Emma swallowed hard, replaying the voice in her head. They said I made a powerful enemy. That I should have stayed in my place. Keanu's jaw tightened. He glanced at the blonde woman from earlier, who immediately pulled out her phone and started typing. The others in the room reacted, some whispering, others staring at Emma with a mix of concern and curiosity. Her hands trembled as she placed her phone on the table. Who was that? She asked. Keanu let out a slow breath, his voice calm but serious. There are people who don't like what we do. They make money by keeping good people powerless. He paused before adding, and now, you're on their radar. A chill ran through Emma. But why me? I'm just... She stopped herself. No, she wasn't just anything anymore. Keanu must have noticed because his voice softened. Because you're proof that one person can make a difference, and that terrifies them. The blonde woman, still typing, looked up. We need to find out who made that call. I'll trace the number. Keanu nodded. Do it. Then he turned back to Emma. You have a choice, he said. You can walk away now and no one would blame you. But if you stay, things might get dangerous. Emma clenched her fists. Her whole life, she had been pushed around by bosses, by society, by people who thought they could control her because she had no power, but she wasn't that person anymore. Lifting her chin, she met Keanu's gaze. I'm not going anywhere. A small smile crossed his face. Good. Just then, the blonde woman's phone pinged. She checked the screen, her expression darkening. I found something, she said. And Emma. You're not going to like it. Emma's stomach twisted. What is it? The woman turned the phone around, showing the screen. A name flashed across it. Emma's breath caught. No, that's not possible. Because the number was connected to someone she knew. Her former manager, the same man who fired her. Emma felt a wave of cold rush through her. Keanu sat back, his expression unreadable. Looks like this fight just got personal. Her hands tightened into fists. The man who humiliated her, made her feel small and worthless, was behind this. Keanu watched her carefully. Emma, he said, his voice steady. This isn't just about firing you anymore. He's trying to scare you into silence. She took a deep breath. The old her, the one who would have backed down and accepted defeat, was gone. This was bigger than her now. What do we do? She asked, looking Keanu straight in the eye. The blonde woman smirked. Oh, I have a few ideas. Keanu chuckled. I think it's time we show him that his power means nothing when the truth is on our side. The next morning, Emma woke up to a flood of notifications. Her story had spread everywhere. Headlines covered social media. Waitress fired for helping Keanu Reeves. Corrupt manager exposed. Keanu Reeves takes a stand against workplace injustice. Hero waitress fights back. And she's not alone. She sat up in bed, scrolling through the comments. Thousands of people were sharing their own experiences. Stories of being mistreated, fired unfairly, silenced. Her inbox was flooded with messages from strangers thanking her, telling her she gave them the courage to speak up. She wiped away a tear. This wasn't just about her anymore. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Keanu. Check the news. Your old boss got what he deserved. Her heart pounded as she opened the news. And there it was. Her former manager had been fired. The restaurant had received so much backlash that the owners had no choice but to let him go. Emma let out a breathless laugh. Justice. Emma's inbox was overflowing with messages from strangers. People were thanking her for speaking up, telling her that her courage had inspired them to do the same. As she scrolled through the heartfelt words, she wiped away a tear. This wasn't just about her anymore. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Keanu. Check the news. Your old boss got what he deserved. Emma's heart pounded as she quickly pulled up the headlines. And there it was. Her former manager had been fired. The backlash against the restaurant had been so intense that the owners had no choice but to let him go. A breathless laugh escaped her. Justice. Just then, her phone rang. It was Keanu again. She answered, and his warm voice came through the line. So, he said, how does it feel to change the world? Emma smiled, gazing at the rising sun. It feels like just the beginning. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for the next one.